Welcome to today's episode of Flowmeter Guy, where the currents of wit and wisdom flow as smoothly as the meters we discuss and the people who use them. Today, we are honored to welcome a distinguished guest who is an expert in test and balance industry and renowned for his remarkable success in building a thriving business. So, young man, what's your name and what do you do for a living?
Well, Brent, Joel Shannon. I am CEO of Research Airflow, amongst many other things, which we'll get into, I'm sure.
So you are based here in the Atlanta area?
Our headquarters is in Atlanta, and that's where we were founded in 1977. And we've got offices in Charlotte, Charleston, and Raleigh.
Well, you're busy guys. So when you're not running your business, what kind of activities and hobbies do you have that bring you fulfillment outside your busy life?
So I really enjoy hiking.
Do you?
Yeah, and your wife and I have talked about that on some trips. She's quite the adventurer, but
she's an adventurer, but not as much as you. You're actually doing it. We just talk about it.
Yeah, I enjoy it. Lately, I've gotten very busy with a lot of extracurricular work stuff and organizations I'm serving with, and it's kind of taken away from the hiking. But I enjoy hiking. I also enjoy ham radio.
Ham radio.
Amateur radio.
Amateur radio.
Call it ham for slang.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I have a lot of fun. I've got a pretty nice station at the house. It's currently,
I saw, you can take a look at these pictures there. The station or house is a very nice broadcast station. From an old radio guy, it looks pretty fancy.
Yeah, that's all modern stuff. I've got some antique tube type radios as well,
Really?
And amplifiers and antennas hidden very nicely. So the HOA.
Can you help us with our internet service here, maybe?
Maybe. I have to call Elon Musk up, see what he can do.
Yeah, some Starlight or whatever else they have there. So this is a hobby, but as we talked earlier, it's quite in depth. You're actually providing some services as well. Yeah,
a lot of the ham radio community gets involved with emergency communications in case there's hurricanes or you hear. If you've ever heard of weather radio, you hear somebody say, we need spotter activation in this area. So they have people that are trained for skywarn nets and things like that. They have what they call nets on the radio. So if you start hearing thunder or seeing some warnings on TV, I always flip on my ham radio. I've got a handheld I keep in every room of the house just about.
Really?
Yep. And so we've got wide coverage repeaters that are on mountaintops all over North Georgia, so they cover a real wide area, and they link all those together all the way down to South Georgia. So if we've got something coming in from Carrollton or somewhere like that heading across Atlanta, we'll know about it hours before it gets here, and somebody in the Peachtree City Weather Service office is connected to this net, a meteorologist, and feed them information about the storm patterns,
so that's
what damage.
The real-time information, basically, from the guy with the Doppler radar. Just got big screens, basically, with a bigger picture.
Exactly. That's the boots on the ground.
That's amazing.
But I actually took my love for hiking and ham radio and mixed them together.
Yeah.
And I do something called Summits on the Air.
Summits on the Air.
We call it SOTA for short, and SOTA. And so I hike to the top of mountains all over the world. I've been hiked in Ireland.
Wow.
Hadn't been to Costa. I've been to Costa Rica. Didn't get to do a mountain there, but I've done some in all over the United States. I've got a picture you're probably going to be showing on top of Jane Bald, and that is on the Appalachian Trail.
On the Appalachian Trail, yeah.
And that sits right on the border of North Carolina and Tennessee in Roan Mountain, Tennessee. Off of Carver's Gap. And so that's a hike I was doing ham radio there. And another shot I've got is you saw the big radio station.
Sure. Yeah. Quite a station.
So I've got a station that I carry on. I've got several that I carry on mountaintops. But if I'm going on a long hike up a lot of elevation gain, I'll carry real small. We call them QRP. That means low power radio, and it's small. I've got one about the size of a deck of playing cards.
Right.
Puts out 3 to 4 watts. I've contacted New Zealand with it.
Really?
Yes, and it's Morse code only. So I mean, it's an old school. That's a digital communication, by the way.
If it works. So the purpose of going up the higher mountains is to get a better elevation, and then for your antenna, you get better coverage. Then I assume.
Yeah, and some exercise.
So that's why he has to do Morse code, going climbing up the mountains there.
So we carry portable antennas and string them up. I've got a picture of one that sometimes we throw them up over a tree. The picture I'm on.
Gotcha.
That I've provided for you is from Dante's Peak.
Oh, really?
Which is almost 7,000 foot above Death Valley. So in the picture you can see in the valley down there, that's Death Valley. And,
that's quite a hike.
Yeah, and that portable mast that's set up that you see an antenna sloping from, when it's collapsed is about 28, 32 inches. And with it fully extended, it's about 30 feet long.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I carry that to the top of a mountain.
Oh, goodness.
And slope an antenna, and the takeoff angle from the radiation of the antenna, because of the slope of the mountain, gives you a better takeoff angle.
Oh, wow.
And you're able to
you got some math involved here too.
Better trajectory of your radio wave hitting the ionosphere and bouncing down on the other side.
So that's all about, right, as I've read, it's all about the bouncing to get your signal farther and farther. And like you said, you're talking to people all over the world.
Yeah.
That's
so it's
amazing.
A lot of fun. During COVID, there's a guy that sells a service for people that live in apartments and can't put up big towers and so forth. So he's got a remote radio station you can connect to over the internet and talk to people all over the world through a radio station on a tower. So
isn't that something?
His towers are located in Maine, like right on the ocean, and it's the farthest station in America, closest to Europe. Yeah. And so during COVID, when all the, Italy was shut down,
right?
He was talking to people over there, and they were telling you what's going on and where they can go and where they can't go. And so you're like, what do you talk about, and who you talk to? But you find out about people and their way of life, and it just makes the big world a little smaller.
Isn't that something?
It's cool, yeah.
That is a fun hobby there. It's a lot of work. You got a lot of toys there. You've obviously experienced how it works there. And you said the organization itself, there's other people that are joined with this whole thing. So you're not the only one. It's a family. No. Wow.
Yeah.
What else? Thank goodness there. So you mentioned you had some musical skills as well.
Yeah, so your tech here told me not to bang on
the table.
So I've played the drums. I've been playing. I'd like to know how long I've been playing, but I think I got a set with paper heads on it called the Noble Oval or something when I was 5 years old.
Yeah,
and immediately destroyed it within 5 minutes. And so my mother, she went to meet one of my teachers for a conference when I was real young, and teacher said, Joel's a good boy. He's going to make a good citizen. He'll fit in with some civic duties and volunteer work and all, but can you please get him to quit beating on stuff? And my mother said, you figure that one out.
You figure that out, huh?
Let me know.
Bump. Well, my favorite music we looked this morning is the solo of Inagata Davida. So you probably know that very well, huh?
Yeah.
We should play that music in the background there. Iron Butterfly.
My dad used to listen to that. My dad was a guitar player.
Was he?
And so his love for music, I grew up listening to CCR and all kind of cool stuff from his era, and we would play music together. So
isn't that something?
That was a lot of fun.
That's why I know those long songs 100 years ago when I worked at a radio station. The guy for the next shift was always late.
Yeah.
So I'd put a record on of either Tubular Bells or Inagata Davida because it had a long play. And then I'd take off and he'd come in the next 10 or 15 minutes and show up, and then nobody knew no one's in the studio. So that's what we learned from those.
That's cool. But I play drums. I've played in various bands. Now I play at church. Yeah. I'm there playing most every weekend, and I'm in a all original Christian rock band called Lifeline, and we go to prisons and do prison ministry and play for captive audience.
The captive audience there. There you go.
So
wow,
it's a lot of fun.
It keeps you out of trouble there. So So you went to school, and you said then things kind of changed. So tell me about, let's start on the journey. How did Joel really get his feet planted and end up where he is today? So kind of walk us through the story about that.
So yeah, growing up with my dad playing music and all, he was real involved in my life, and he would get me to work on everything with him.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a cool meme or a little video or something going around on social media that kids nowadays don't know the pain of holding the flashlight for their father.
There you go.
Because you get cussed out quite a bit when you're, put it right there. I said, whoever invented the headlamp should get the Nobel Peace Prize.
There you go. You're out of job there. I hear you. Yeah.
But anyway, I worked with Dad on the weekends around the house. I'd say, what are we going to do for fun, Dad? Clint and Brian, they're going deer hunting or fishing or camping or something. What are we going to do? He said, we're going to work. And so we'd go out and dig a foundation for a garage or replace a window in the house or, just crazy stuff, always working. And then when I got old enough to work on projects, which it was at a very young age, you can probably see from the picture that's going to be shown.
Yeah.
Started very young.
Started young there, huh? Yeah, I like the hard hat there.
Dad drug me to a project one time when I was real young, and we were doing a high school. And he said, quit asking me questions. Just here, I'm going to give you something to do. These days you would be put in jail for this kind of thing. But Dad carries me to the roof. I'm like, I'm not even a teenager yet. He carries me to the roof and hands me a nut driver.
Yeah.
And there's like 150 exhaust fans on this roof. And he says, every one of these covers, I need you to
take those off there.
Pull these off and flip them, put the bolts in, the nuts in them, and we're going to go around and get the nameplate information, drive sizes, and all this stuff. And I said, okay, great. So he goes back down. I figure out in about 2 seconds that I can just push down on it to depress the rubber isolators and just flip the nuts off. So in a few minutes, I'm back down. Dad, what you want me to do next? You can't be done yet.
Yeah. You outfigured it, huh?
Yeah. So I would work with him on weekends and during the summer when I wanted to buy a drum set or something.
There you go.
A go-kart or something. He would say, come work and you can earn some money. And so I would go with him, work on projects. So I got exposed to test and balance at a young age. And then my love for ham radio, I got involved with that at a fairly young age. So when I graduated high school, I had a love for electronics.
Mm-hmm.
And so I decided I'd go to night school, the cab tech, and take some electronics courses. And I really enjoyed that. And Dad was saying, you need to learn about HVAC. So I enrolled in some HVAC classes there at night, and not a real good student, but I was going to give it my all. And Dad landed a big project in Augusta. And he said, son, we're going bankrupt if you don't quit school and help me finish this job.
So, what are you going to say, huh?
I said, okay, Dad, I'll take one for the team. So went to Augusta, ended up being there 4 years.
It's a long job.
Isn't there a song, Augusta, Georgia's just no place to be?
No place to be for sure.
Yeah, so I can testify. That's
there's nothing in between.
Oh, man. Paper mills rolling in there.
Yeah.
But we had a lot of fun. That was probably the worst job I ever worked.
That was the worst job.
Yeah, and the best.
Yeah.
Because that taught me perseverance.
Taught you perseverance.
We had a lot of problems on that project. We had to rebuild thermostats, do things that we don't even do as test and balance people. The compressed air system filled up with water all the way to the 5th floor. And you could go open an air valve and it would fill up buckets of water. It's not supposed to happen in a compressed air
guess
system.
not.
So I got to rebuild the thermostats and clean the diaphragms in them and calibrate them. And we sold that service to the customer and ended up scuba diving. That's another thing that
scuba diving.
I didn't mention that to you.
I didn't know HVAC was underwater.
Before I got married.
Yeah, another before I got married story.
Before I got married.
Yeah.
I was a cave diver.
What?
Yes. I spent several years training to go back and do underwater exploration
Kidding.
in caves in northern Florida and spring systems.
Wow. So you're not claustrophobic then?
No. And believe it or not, in a cave,
Yeah.
being confined
Yeah.
is a good thing.
Yeah.
I have been in rooms in a cave where we had these halogen lights
Right.
that are ridiculously bright.
Right.
Battery packs like this.
Can't say anything.
You can shine in any direction, up or down, side, front to back, and not see anything but water. And that's scary because you can get disorder.
And this is in Florida. I heard it's nothing but a honeycomb, basically.
Yeah,
Florida is that.
It's amazing. All these aquifers and springs
Right.
underground. But I guess the longest dive that I did was with 6 tanks.
Wow.
A little over 4 hours,
That's a long.
decompressing with pure oxygen at 20, 30 feet
Oh,
of
geez.
depth for hours.
Oh,
on end.
geez.
And that was a lot of fun. But anyway, I digress. While I was in Augusta, I did some scuba diving at Clarks Hill Reservoir where there's 3 foot long alligator gar in this lake.
Oh,
Man, it's
geez.
unreal. They got snappy teeth. And
Oh, geez. Yeah. Unbelievable. So you mentioned that. Let's tell our audience, what is test and balance? Give me a quick breakdown.
the elevator pitch.
What is it?
So fluids,
Mhm.
air or water,
Mhm.
as you deal with,
Right. That's a flow meter part. That was a ticket to get in.
that's a flow marker. Yeah.
Okay.
So air and water are not very intelligent. They take the path, and they're lazy. They take the path of least resistance.
Right.
So you turn on a system, a pump, a fan,
Mm-hmm.
the fluids are going to go wherever they can get to. The engineer has designed systems to have certain amounts of airflow or water flow to cool or heat, dehumidify, and
A building or
humidify.
facility.
Building or
Okay.
facility.
Okay.
And so we basically push fluids around
Mm-hmm.
with dampers and valves and validate that they meet the design. That's in the simplest terms. But
Mhm.
we also take temperatures and prove energy exchange and try to tune systems and calibrate sensors so that they're optimally operating for the best efficiency and least energy use. And it's exciting. Pays the bills.
It's another niche market.
It
A
is.
very niche market, but it has a need. And so you, after you got done scuba diving in Augusta, then basically you came back to the organization here in the Atlanta area. And then what did you do after that?
So my dad was working out of town in Camp Lejeune, North Carolina. Did some work at a base out there. And he was overwhelmed because most of the company was in Augusta finishing this project. He was trying to do some military work up on the coast. And you know what it's like to be the chief cook and bottle washer,
Sure.
having to wear all the hats before you get a team and delegate and all that. But he was overwhelmed a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And he had prayed that the Lord would send him a business partner. And he was out of town, away from Atlanta. He goes down to this hotel lobby. You know what it's like eating on the road. You're by yourself.
Yeah.
He's sitting in the lobby and he looks across the lobby and here's Charles Derrick. And it's a guy he worked with at Tab Services years and years
ago. And that was also in the Atlanta area.
Also in the Atlanta. And Charles had a son who's now my business partner, Kevin. Charles had a background in cotton farming and chicken farming.
Cotton and chicken farming. Okay.
Yes. So he had a farm in Alabama and put Kevin through high school there and did farming. And then when Kevin graduated and went into the reserve with the Navy, Charles said, I'll come back to Atlanta and get back into test and balance. So he was working with Tab at the time. And Dad looks over at this restaurant and there's Charles sitting there. He's like, wow, come on over. So I actually got a picture of Charles and Dad from where they worked with Tab years and years and years ago. And they were at the Battery in Charleston and climbed up on those cannons. You ever been there?
I've never been there.
So along the walk by the ocean there, they've
Mhm.
got all these old cannons,
Right.
and cannonballs and stuff. It's called the battery. And so Charles and Dad got up on top of this cannon, took pictures of each other. And Charles, you see him, he's got his aviators on. He was a helicopter pilot.
Right.
3 tours in Vietnam.
How about that?
Yeah, became an instructor, and
I bet.
he's an amazing man. But anyway, I digress. Those two reconnected after all those years, and they, sat down, ate dinner, and my dad said, I've been praying I'd meet somebody that would go into business with me and help. And he said, well, I've been kind of thinking about the same thing. And boom, they came together. And Charles and my dad were completely different. My dad was very technical,
Mhm.
and Charles was very people oriented.
Yeah.
And had he could sell anything.
Yeah.
And it just amazing. And everybody loved him, a real charismatic guy. So they ended up just as a match made in heaven, literally. And so they started working together, growing the business, and it has just exploded since then.
That's amazing.
But that's how things got going. That was probably in the early 90s, I
Mhm.
believe. And Dad had started the business in 77. So he'd been going a while
Sure.
he had a business partner in between there, and he went into the sheet metal industry, and they split ways and
Mm-hmm.
just divided up the company. But Dad met Charles, and then Kevin was working on a mushroom farm. He
A
graduated.
mushroom farm.
He graduated from Auburn with a degree in economics and agricultural economics.
There you go.
So he was in Florida in the heat, shoveling the things you put on top of
That's
mushrooms.
right. The things you put on top of mushrooms.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
Charles called him up with a similar sad
Yeah.
story. Hey, we're in trouble, and I think you could make a good career up here. And so he packed up his wife, and
There you
can't
go.
remember if he had a kid at that time or not, but maybe his son was born, and he moved up and got busy learning test and balance. And then Kevin and I eventually purchased the company from our fathers, and they
Mhm.
retired. And Kevin and I, like our fathers, are completely different, wired different all the way around.
Are they?
Yeah.
I see that you were, we have a plaque here that you were honored recently.
My father was. We people that are familiar with test and balance know we're certified with NEB and National Environmental Balancing Bureau.
Mhm.
And we have local chapters. Our local chapter is the Mid-South chapter.
Mid-South. Okay.
And my dad served as the president at least, multiple years. He was
Mhm.
president of the chapter. He served as the technical committee chairman for many, 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 many years until he retired. And a few years back, our chapter came up with the Founders Award. So NEB's got the George Hightower Award. He's one of the guys that
Right.
helped start NEB. He was a flying tiger in the World War II. Great guy. I got to do a project for him once. But
Wow.
anyway, they decided we're going to have a prestigious award, and it's only been awarded, I think, 3 times now. And
Really?
they awarded that to my dad.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I
Yeah.
saw the plaque of that recently. We'll show that on.
Posthumously, they gave it to him, and I received it on his behalf in Wilmington, North Carolina.
Right.
So we get to
That's great.
hang out with some cool people on those research, and yourself included.
There you go.
A lot of
So
fun.
you mentioned these organizations you mentioned NEB and some other organizations there. What's the purpose of these organizations?
Oh, wow.
What are they? They're just training or guidelines or
So
what's
we've
their-
got a lot of core values in NEB that have to do with,
You said NEB stand for National Environmental Balancing Bureau?
that's what it originally stood for,
Okay.
yes. And I think it's just known as NEB.
NEB. Okay.
But NEB has some core values that have to do with integrity
Mhm.
and doing quality work, putting out top quality publications and education. And they serve as a certification body for people that do what we do and hold a standard that creates
Standards and procedures.
Standards and procedures. And they've got a fantastic staff that works really hard in the Baltimore, Washington, D.C. area. But the backbone, the backbone of the organization is volunteers.
The old volunteers.
Like myself.
Yeah.
So you have board members, executive finance committee members, and then there are guys that work tirelessly. I mean, the hours they put in is unbelievable on like the tab committee, the clean room committee, standards, test development committee. These guys they've got normal jobs. And they go work on these tasks for free. And
that's something. So that's just the
love of the industry
to keep the industry. And at the same token, everybody wants to share the knowledge on how to do this. And I understand there's a hard time getting young people back in the business. People, what's the reason for that?
We're seeing a change in that.
Are you?
We really are. For a while, everyone was going to college.
Yeah.
And then, micro with the dirty jobs thing. And he's been preaching it for a while that, you need to give the trades a try.
Right.
And now you've got these Skills USA competitions and building trades organizations going to high schools and talk, they did away with the shop classes in a lot of the high schools. I was big into shop when I was in high school. And so nowadays you've got businesses going to these career fairs and explaining to these kids, hey, you can go to work and make this much money and be working towards a retirement. Kids don't care about retirement. They're like, what's that?
What's that?
I'm never going to die.
Yeah, no, I'm never going to die.
Retire and I'm bulletproof, whatever.
Right.
But when they hear that their friends that have gone on ahead of them have graduated and they're working for chump change with a gazillion people competing for the same job.
Right.
And they've got a mountain of school debt, college debt that they have to pay off. It's tough. So we're with getting the young people comes the challenges of immaturity and things like that, where teenagers think they know everything. But we've actually got some incredible some of the brightest new hires that we've had have come out of high schools. And
really.
Yeah, we've got one gentleman that works with us now. He was the valedictorian of his high school class.
Really? That's great.
And he is getting involved with NEB, the national organization. They've got a Young Professionals Network, the YPN is what they
What's
call
the
it.
age in that now?
I think it's anything under 40.
Under 40, yeah. I thought it was younger than that before.
It's hard to get
up there.
Some geezer to run the thing and have young people interested in it. But they're having these happy hour events and doing lots of things to work on things like AI. And, AI is getting crazy, and it's amazing what you can do with it. But so we've got task force for AI and NEB. We've got the Young Professionals Network, and that's getting young people involved even before they're certified. We're not even waiting on them. If you've got a good interest and you're making a difference in your company and organization, we're going to help.
Well, I see that. I see a strong sense of camaraderie. And then the good old boys is a really strong sense of passing on the knowledge. More so, we're members of many organizations, and it's not a secret of what you do. You want everybody to know how you do it. And they have these chapter meetings, which I attend around the country there. It's all educational, and it's all as much hands-on you'd like. And now that's another thing that you mentioned. You're involved with some of the testing programs recently. So,
yeah. So I'm involved at the chapter level. I'm a past president of our NEB local chapter for Mid-South. I've been the technical committee chairman since, I guess, 2012, maybe.
Lucky you.
Yeah, I get to sign everybody's applications and all that. But, I was lucky enough to volunteer and go to Jacksonville, Florida when I was a little younger, and they've got a test lab down there.
Right.
We didn't have one in Georgia, so we could volunteer to proctor, and they'd pay you to come proctor.
Sure.
So when I was young and my kids were real little, I'd say, you want to go to the beach this weekend? Yeah. Dad's going to be giving tests out, but you and Mom can hang out and go to the beach. So got some proctoring under my belt there, and became a NEB approved proctor, and so recently we've got this new test lab in Columbus, Georgia for giving the NIB practical exam.
Mm-hmm.
And we went down and past couple of weeks ago, I guess we just did our very first certification exam and got that vetted with NIB. We had someone from the NIB office come down and bless it. And we had several guys from the chapter that were becoming proctors. And so I serve on the board still with NIB, vice president now at MIB.
It's MEB.
And I'm also on the board.
I just saw you're on the national board too.
Yeah, they asked me if I'd come on board. I said, sure, if I can help, I'll be glad.
So
I also am a member of SMACNA, and I'm on the local Georgia chapter board working with SMACNA. It's a sheet metal air conditioning contractor.
So the big purpose of being involved with these, aside from educationals on the projects that you work on, are specifications required then that call out these organizations that you have these skills?
They do.
Okay, so that's part of the marketing.
And if you're involved at the grassroots level, you get your voice heard for things that impact you and your business.
Mm-hmm.
But the biggest benefit I've seen is that you're working with the cream of the crop people all over the world. You know,
Uh-huh.
Luis, you're going to have him on, I heard, maybe for a podcast.
Sure.
Luis is amazing. He's
the president of the NEBS organization currently.
Yes, and he's very focused and a great leader. But if you weren't volunteered, you wouldn't get exposed to the way people look at things, and then finding out about the culture, where he's from Costa Rica,
right?
And you find out about what challenges they have there.
Mm-hmm.
You find out people on the West Coast, they deal with a completely different set of challenges than the East Coast. A lot of red tape. And
I go into a West Coast meeting and they'll say, what do you think about this Section 1234.5, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
It's only indicative to people in California in the Bay Area or something like that. And I said, that's interesting. I sell flow meters, but it's only that chapter. And so when everybody gets together, they get to share some notes to figure out what's making it practical for everybody.
So supposedly what happens on the West Coast goes to the rest of the country.
Right.
A lot of ways I hope not, but in some ways that could be good. But you're on the cutting edge of learning about those things if you're volunteering.
Mm-hmm.
And so you hear the old adage, you've heard it a million times. You get out of it what you put into it. And you were sharing with me this morning all the people that you've met volunteering, and thank you so much for being at the national and the local recertifications and providing educational opportunities. And
I go to these meetings because I don't really have any friends. So it's the only way to get to meet people. So that's the main reason we go.
And Brent has been after me for years. Let me do a marketing piece for you. Let me do something for your chapter. Let me do something. And he asked me if I'd come be on his show. And I'd say, well, we're going to get to talk about Brent some. So yeah, I'll do that. That'd be great.
We have lots of fun to do things like that. So you basically, your organization, you built a nice organization, and you have multiple offices too, right?
Yes.
Where are you based out of? That one here in Atlanta area?
Yes, our next office that we established was in Raleigh, North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
And we've typically, we don't have the mindset of taking over the world, or anything like that. It's customers are in that market. They've expanded and they said, hey, will you come support us?
Mm-hmm.
Or we have an employee that, hey, I'd kind of like to have an opportunity to try something different. So if we've got those two elements, we'll go explore another market. And that's the way Raleigh came to be.
Well, that's interesting then. What kind of markets are you? I mean, I look at your it says on the website you have over, 25,000 projects of every scope.
That's pretty old. We're up pretty old.
40,000 projects. And so with that in mind, you have multiple offices, and I see your data centers, and just a thumbnail of the kind of businesses that you'd get involved in. Is it?
Oh, we do a lot. We used to, the bread and butter was office buildings, tenant renovations, and small, what they call turn work, tenant renovations. With the pandemic and people working from home, the office market is dried up. And so that we thought we'd just be seeing a big downturn in work.
Mm-hmm.
It's been gangbusters.
Really?
Yeah. We're we're involved heavily and have been for years with healthcare market, working in hospitals, laboratories. We do air change testing in operating rooms and isolation rooms, which are pretty popular during pandemics and things like that. So
no, I bet.
Keeping those certified up to speed. Then the data centers with the AI market and people working remotely, there's a big need for data centers and housing servers all over the place, and Amazon's replaced the brick and mortar stores. So everything's data center driven.
So, and then cases there, we've done some projects with you that in addition to test and balance was just flow surveys, basically collecting. So we're basically doing a discovery process, the data center, how much water are we using? And then you may recommend solutions to optimize the facility that you have there.
Yep.
So if there's water in a pipe, I'm involved. I do a little bit of air, but you're doing water and air. And at the same time, you're analyzing the system and making recommendations to maybe a contractor or a building owner. Said, you know what? If you did this and this and this, you might be able to enhance your system and save a little money. It really comes down to money, really, to get down to the whole thing, doesn't it?
Exactly. I talked to an industry leader, customer of ours that's doing a lot of data centers, and he said that the data center market's shifting more now. At one time, it was heavily sheet metal involved, a lot of ductwork involved. Now it's more direct water cooled. So you're seeing more fluid from your end, in-row coolers, power distribution units.
Yeah, that's what I see. I have no idea. Some of the facilities say how much water consumption the data centers that makes an impact on a community big time. So it's a big deal, and they're moving some more here in the Atlanta area as well. I'm just seeing all the trying to get tax abatements to get these big guys in, but it's a price.
Yeah,
where you're taking all their utility services that other people may have limited access to. But hey, get off the internet, huh?
Yeah.
So,
and we were very blessed to pick up Plant Vogel work. We did
really?
2 reactors.
The nuclear plant. Okay.
Yeah, those are the 2 first reactors that have come online in decades in the United States. So, and they're both currently online and operating well, and that provided a lot of work for us.
So you diversified. How many people do you have now?
I'd have to stop and count.
He's guessing.
Somewhere around 90 employees total. Yeah, it's a lot.
And you have time to come visit me. That's amazing.
Oh, I've always got time to come see Brent, man. It's a lot of fun. You got a great facility here.
It's a lot of people to organize. And so, as you said, you're up to 40,000 projects right now. That's amazing. Multiple offices there. So couple of thoughts to kind of wrap this whole thing around. So you're a busy guy, you got all kinds of hobbies. You're growing your business. In the spare time, you're in radio and a band, a church, and taking care of family. And you got a couple of dogs. Can't forget the dogs.
Got 2 dogs.
Got 2 dogs you got to take care of, and the family. And so the thoughts are, you shared a lot of knowledge and how you got there. And it's obviously part of that is your spirit and how you've got from point A to point B. And second thing is character, the way you're working with people. Because the whole thing is just the way you network with people, quite frankly.
Sure.
And now you got to network with all these employees. In fact, I just interviewed somebody recently. I said, if you did something again, what would you do? He said, I wouldn't have any employees.
It had to have been Derek.
Yes, it was Derek. So with that in mind, it's part of the equation.
Yeah.
It's part of the equation. So if you had to go back in time to your former self when you started this business, what advice would you give to yourself now that you've gone through this journey? What would you do significantly different or not at all?
I would say the biggest secret to success is to take care of people, your employees, your customers, and to serve others. I've kind of done that in an increasing amount since I began. But, if you ask me what would I do different or what bad mistakes did I make, we don't have enough time to cover all of that today.
What it could have, should have.
What it could have, should have. But, I think being grounded, having a faith, I've told you I'm a Christian. One of the secrets of happiness is a choice, right?
I guess so, yeah.
You can be happy or not. And happiness is a lot to do with your circumstances. Joy is different. Joy is something you've got that people can't take away from you. And so joy is Jesus, others, and yourself.
Yeah.
You put yourself last. So in the mix of all that, being grounded with the character, taking care of other people, and realizing that the reason that we're doing this work is there's families involved. There's people, There's people that we have very low turnover at our company.
Do you?
We've got multiple people that have been there 20 plus years.
Wow.
We've had 3 or 4 retirees. We've got our division manager in Raleigh is going to be retiring maybe this year. And he's Tim Larson. He's phenomenal, great guy. And, just those people have dedicated their lives to going out of town, doing work and taking care of us. And so if we take care of them, that's the secret. So just taking care of others, and
they'll take care of you,
and everything else takes care of itself.
That's great. So with that in mind, so we talked about a lot of things you do and how busy you are. What's in the future for Joel? What do you want to do tomorrow? What do you want to do moving forward here? What is you want to become a band leader now and do full-time playing band? You want to go back and play ham radio? Now, you're still only 39 years old, so I know you got a lot more years to work, but what's on the horizon here for Joel? What's your quest?
I've still got some gas in the tank, and getting involved with a lot of the boards, and I serve at my church as an elder as well. You learn a lot. You get exposed to a lot of different thought processes and really, really sharp people. So I'm enjoying just seeing where the business is going to go next. It's we're constantly trying to develop methods to scale and to grow if need be, and to maintain, but to do things with excellence. We don't want to grow at the expense of getting
gotta do it right,
letting quality go.
Gotta do it right.
So I'm enjoying the opportunities to learn and to continue improving what we do and working with our people. With folks retiring and getting new people, it's almost like starting over in some regards, and you just retraining in those mistakes you made. You try not to make them again. So it's fun, it's a learning process. So,
well, I see one of the key
where the future's going to go. We'll see.
Well, I sense of all the people we've interviewed, and the one key quality that all of you selected entrepreneurs have is a sense of a community and a sense of networking with your customer and your employees, and then sharing this information from, as I said, your community and all your personal life and your business life. And it seems to wrap the whole thing together there as a proper function of success. We've all had our hard times from time to time. We all survived, well, not all of us, but we've survived COVID. And if you could go on the other side of that situation there, then there's some hope that you'll never have a problem like that, but you'll be able to prosper from that knowledge. So with that in mind, anything you need to add before we turn this off?
Just thank my family.
Yeah.
My wife, Lynn, she's sacrifices a lot, but, and your wife as well, I'm sure.
Your wife has a lot of patience.
Yeah, she has a lot of patience. I've got 2 wonderful children, John and Elizabeth, 27, 26, and 20. She's 24. So they are figuring out their life, and of course that keeps Dad happy.
Dad's always busy.
Keeps Dad
no
busy.
Matter how old they get, they're still your kids.
Brent's got some of his kids' furniture in the back here.
No matter how old they are, they're still your kids. My mom is 94, and she still tells me what to do.
Yeah.
Okay, so there you go.
That's great. I have a great family. My mother's still alive. She lives close by. My sister, I've just got one sibling, and she's amazing. She's 13 months younger than me. And we didn't kill each other growing up. I don't know how, but she's tougher than I am. She's a lot tougher than I am. Her husband is our estimator.
Oh.
So I get to work with family. I've got a nephew, his son helps out as well. And we've got other people in the office that help out, my nephew's wife. So just, it's family. It's nice. And I've got a great family, and very blessed man, you know.
Well, thank you very much. We
Thank
appreciate
you.
you coming to visit us today, and live long and prosper.
Nanu.
Take care, Joel.
Thanks a lot.
All right. Thanks for tuning into another exciting episode of Flow Meter Guy. Want to catch more episodes? Just follow the playlist link right over here. Remember, we need people like you to make this channel a success. If you've got a story to share or have a recommendation for a future episode, drop us a comment below. We'd love to hear from you. Well then, until next time.